الصلاة والسلام عليك يا سيدي يا عظيم الجاه. أما بعد فنذكر أنفسنا بإخلاص النية لله تعالى في حضور هذا المجلس، مجلس علم الدين، المجلس الذي وصفه الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم بأنه روضة من رياض الجنة، والمجلس الذي تحفه الملائكة فتنزل فيه الرحمات والبركات والأسرار، والمجلس الذي ينال المسلم المخلص فيه ثوابا عظيما. فإن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال مخاطبا لأبي ذر: يا أبا ذر، لأن تغدو فتتعلم بابا من العلم خير لك من أن تصلي 1000 ركعة، أي من النوافل التامات. فهنيئا لمن وفقه الله تعالى لهذا العمل العظيم. I praise Allah and glorify Him and I thank Him for all the blessings that He gives without Him being obligated to give anything. And I ask Allah Ta'ala to raise the rank of our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and to protect his Muslim nation. I testify that no one deserves to be worshipped except Allah, the one without a partner, the one without an equal, the one without a similar, the one who is unlike anything in the universe and nothing in the universe is like Him. He has no father, no mother, no sister, no brother, no son, and no daughter. He exists without time and place because He is the creator of time and place. He does not reside above the throne, and He is not attributed with fatigue, like the Jews say. Our Lord is glorified beyond any imperfection that the non-Muslims attribute to Him. Whatever you imagine in your mind, Allah Ta'ala does not resemble that. And whoever attributes and attributed the creations to Allah is outside of Islam. And I testify that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the son of Abdullah, the son of Abdul Muttalib, the son of Hashim, the son of Abdul Manaf, from the tribe of Quraysh, is the best creation of Allah and His final prophet and messenger, sent to all humans and jinn, and He is truthful about everything that He conveyed of the revelation. Thereafter, we remind ourselves to have the sincere intention for the sake of Allah in attending this session of Islamic knowledge, because having the sincere intention is a requirement to get the reward. So the Muslim, whenever he does a good deed, he has to have the sincere intention for the sake of Allah to get a reward for that good deed. The reward is defined as the compensation that the Muslim receives in the hereafter for the good deeds that he did in this life among what makes him happy. An example of the reward that is guaranteed to the righteous Muslim in the grave is that his grave is expanded approximately 105 feet by 105 feet, and his grave is illuminated with a light similar to the light of the full moon, and the fragrance of paradise would be present in the grave. The sincere intention means for the Muslim to do the good deed seeking the acceptance of Allah only and not the praise of the people. So Alhamdulillah, we are grateful and thankful to Allah, and we are happy that we have been guided to Islam. Because Islam is the greatest endowment. Because with Islam, the human being has everything, and without Islam, the human being has nothing. And we are grateful and thankful to Allah that He has given us access to the pure and authentic knowledge of Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah, transmitted through the connected and verified chains, generation after generation, from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam until now. And that knowledge is the key to paradise. The knowledge of Ahlul Sunnah is the key to paradise. The knowledge of Ahlul Sunnah is the life of Islam. So we are grateful and thankful to Allah that He has guided us to be among those who learn that knowledge and acquire that knowledge. As we mentioned yesterday, we gave the introduction and we said that we're going over the obligatory knowledge. And we mentioned that this knowledge, once the Muslim has it, then he implements it with sincerity, and this is how he becomes pious. And we are obligated to be pious. Allah Ta'ala revealed in the Quran, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا اتَّقُوا اللَّهَ اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. Which means, O you Muslims, fulfill all the obligations and refrain from all the sins in the complete way, the perfect way, and do not die except as Muslims. And there's many verses in the Quran that they begin that way. Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu taqullah. So at-taqwa, which is an Arabic term, it's referring to what people say in English, piety. And what is the definition of piety? It is defined. It's not ambiguous. It's not a mystery. It's not some abstract concept that we can't grasp and that we just imagine what it is. No, it's a specific thing. It's a defined thing. So piety, it means to fulfill all the obligations and to refrain from all the sins, without exception. Allahu Akbar, what a great thing to be pious. This is why the pious Muslims, the pious people, they have a high status and they are praised in the Quran. And the pious Muslims, they have a good news, they have a glad tiding, and they have a guarantee. A guarantee from Allah. In this world, in this life, someone that you know, the human being, he might promise something to you. When you buy something from a store, they say, we guarantee 100% our product, this and that. But sometimes that promise is broken. And sometimes that guarantee is not fulfilled. Because that's how it is in this world, and that's how it is amongst the creations. But the creator of the universe, when he promises and he guarantees something, for sure it will go through. And Allah Ta'ala has guaranteed for us, has guaranteed to the pious Muslim that he will be rewarded and he will know no pain and he will have no fear and he will have no sadness and he shall never grieve. That's the guarantee for the pious Muslim. So the one who is pious, he will get that reward that is promised by Allah. So it is a great thing to be pious. And it is something that is a high status. But like we said yesterday, that the majority of the Muslims are not pious. That the majority of Muslims, they commit sins. So the pious people are rare, they do exist, but they are not the majority. So they're special. But still, it is our personal obligation, each and every one of us, each and every accountable Muslim has to be pious. What does it mean to be pious? Does it mean just to have a big beard? No. Does it mean just to have a turban or a peninsula or a kufi on the head? No. Does it mean just to wear a thobe? No. Does it mean just to have the thicker beads in your hand? No. Does it mean just to wear the hijab? No. Piety is a state of the heart, which is basically you have in your heart conscious and aware that Allah sees you and knows about you and hears you, and so you wouldn't dare to disobey. You have this in your heart that my Lord that ordered me and that made things an obligation upon me and that made certain things forbidden for me to do. He knows all about me. So I will not dare to do something that He ordered me not to do. And I will not dare to fall short in something that He ordered me to do. That is what piety is. And a result of that state of the heart is that the Muslim, he fulfills the obligation. So the Muslim knows he's obligated to pray 5 times a day. So he makes sure that he fulfills that because he has that present meaning in his heart. He knows that, for example, in RamaDān, where we are right now, we know that during the day, we cannot eat, we cannot drink, there's certain things we can't do, even though we feel hungry, even though we feel thirsty. We're patient upon that circumstance because we want to obey our Creator, because we fear Allah. That is at-taqwa. This is the meaning of at-taqwa. So there is no way to achieve that. There is no way to be pious except with the knowledge. And this is the knowledge that you need in order to achieve that goal. فَلَا سَبِيلَ إِلَى تَقْوَى اللَّهِ تَعَالَى إِلَّا بَعْدَ تَعَلُّمِ الْفَرْضِ الْعَيْنِيِّ مِنْ عِلْمِ الدِّينِ. There is no way to be pious, to fulfill all the obligations and to refrain from all the sins, except after earning this obligatory knowledge. So yesterday we finished talking about the 13 attributes. And so these 13 attributes, because they were mentioned many times in the Quran, because they were mentioned many times in the Hadith, the scholars of Islam, they said it is a personal obligation upon each and every accountable Muslim to know them. So what does it mean to know them? It means that they have to be aware what these attributes are and what their meaning is. They don't have to memorize specific wording. They just have to know that the Creator exists and that His existence is without a beginning and there's no doubt about His existence. He has to know that the Creator, that He's the only Creator. He has to know that Allah has no beginning to His existence. He has to know that Allah's existence does not come to an end. He has to know that Allah needs none. He has to know that Allah has the complete and perfect power over all the mental possibilities. He has to know that Allah is attributed with a perfect and complete will that never is defeated, a perfect will that always goes through, and nothing goes against His will. He has to know, the Muslim has to know that Allah is attributed with a perfect and complete knowledge. Nothing is hidden from His knowledge. The Muslim has to know that Allah is attributed with hearing and sight that is not related to organs or an ear or an eye or anything physical. That Allah hears everything and sees everything without the need of an instrument, without the need of an organ. He has to know that Allah is attributed with life, unlike our life. It's not composed of blood or flesh or bones or a soul or a body. The Muslim has to know that Allah is attributed with al-kalam, which is an eternal and everlasting attribute that is not a sound, letter, or language, by which Allah orders, forbids, promises, and threatens. The Muslim has to know that Allah is attributed with non-resemblance to the creation. Whatever you imagine in your mind, Allah does not resemble that. So every single accountable Muslim has to know that. Now whoever negates any of those attributes, or denies them, or contradicts them, then such a person will not be a Muslim. Such a person cannot be a Muslim, even if they were very ignorant. So imagine there was someone that embraced Islam yesterday, and then today they said, there's some things that God doesn't know. They're not a Muslim. Even if they never learned that God is attributed with perfect knowledge and that He knows everything. So any of these 13 attributes, if anyone negates them, or contradicts them, or denies them, they are not Muslim, even if they just embraced Islam yesterday. Because these 13 attributes, whoever denies them or negates them, then they have attributed imperfection to Allah. They have attributed an attribute that is not befitting to Allah, and that takes them out of Islam. So these attributes of Allah, they have no beginning and they have no end. And Allah Ta'ala has no beginning and has no end. And so we cannot imagine Allah, and we cannot imagine His attributes, but we can know what they are, because it was revealed in the Quran and it was revealed in the Hadith, and the Prophet ﷺ, he conveyed that revelation to the Muslim nation. And so we pass that on. So as Muslims, we don't claim that we imagine Allah. We don't claim to encompass the reality of Allah. We only know what Allah revealed, and we have to believe in it. And that belief, or that information that Allah revealed, is something that is corroborated by the sound mind. That means our mind proves the validity of it. Our mind validates that information. So there's nothing about what we believe that goes against the mind. We're not like the Christians, we're not like the other religions, where they believe in things that don't make sense. And then when the people that believe those things, when they question their leaders about it, when they ask their supposed priests or their religious leaders, what about this and what about that? They just tell them, they put their hand on their shoulder and they say, you just have to close your eyes and believe. You just have to have what they call blind faith. But in Islam, This is not the case. In Islam, we use the mind to validate what we believe. We use the mind to confirm the truthfulness and the validity of the Islamic creed. So what we mentioned so far, that basically covers the meaning of Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, which means I testify that no one is God except Allah. And so now we're going to move on to the second shahada, the basic meaning of the second shahada, which is Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. So this shahada, this second shahada, it basically means I testify that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah, which means I know, believe, and declare that Muhammad, this specific person, the son of Abdullah, who is the son of Abdul Muttalib, with that specific lineage, that he is the final prophet and messenger, that he is, that he received the revelation from Allah, and that he is sent to all the people and all the jinn, and he is truthful about everything that he conveyed of the revelation. So this is essential for us to know about the Prophet ﷺ. And I'm going to tell you why right now. Because the credibility of the information that he gives us, that we cannot know through the mind, it has to be untarnished. It has to be a credibility that no one can make a doubt about. Because we can use the mind to know, like we were talking about yesterday about the universe. These scientists, they are like people that have no minds. They are like people that are insane, like delusional people. They see that this universe is so intricate and so sophisticated, and they know, for example, more than us about like all these things in the universe, and they know the names of all these elements and all these things. But still, they don't want to admit that God exists. They want to say, oh, there was a Big Bang, and they want to say, what happened before that, we don't know, it's a mystery, and they claim that it's a singularity, sounding like the movies, like something from a Marvel movie, because they don't want to admit the truth. They don't want to admit that God exists. We can use our mind to know that everything in the universe has a beginning, because it's a series of events, and like we said yesterday, it changes from state to state. But beyond that, paradise, hellfire, the life of the grave, that we have a soul, certain laws, what's halal, what's haram, what's forbidden, what's an obligation, what's permissible, what's dispraised. We can't know that just using the mind. We can't know that there is a paradise just using the mind. We can't know that there is a hellfire just by us thinking and reflecting and using the mental evidence. That information has to be transmitted to us. And not every single one of us receives that information from the Creator. Only the prophets received that revelation. And so the prophets, they were sent to be the messengers to us. God chose those specific men to be the ones who receive that information, and then they give it to the people, so that the people can know what is the right way to live, so that the people can know what is the right thing to do, so that people can know what is the straight path. Because like we were saying yesterday, some people like coffee, some people like tea. Who's to say which one is better? Who's the one that's going to dominate? The ones that say coffee is better, or the ones that say tea is better? And so that's why you see in the secular systems that they're based on injustice and they're based on arbitrary whims. Because why? Because they're just saying, oh, this is the way it should be. Based on what? Who said this is the way it should be? Who said that you should shave your face and wear a tie and a suit? Who said that? Who said that you should walk around, for example, half naked? Who said that you can go and drink beer and eat pork and fornicate? Who said that? Based on what did they say that? So their secular systems, that's why they are corrupt and unjust, because they are based on whims. They are based on opinions and preferences. Everybody's got their own preferences. There's people in this world that they like to eat other people. Are we going to say, oh, that's okay, go ahead and do that? No, because there's sick people in the world. So what's the right way to judge? What's the standard? On what do we base our morality? It can't be on preference, it can't be on whims, it can't be on who's the stronger one or who has the most money, right? Or who has the biggest army, because then that leads to tyranny and corruption, etc. So we can only know this what is the standard of morality, and what is the proper system, and what is justice, and what is right, and what is wrong, and what are the rights, through the revelation. And so that information, because it's so important for us as human beings to live correctly and to have order and to have justice, so that there's no injustice, right? Because there's a lot of injustice going on in the world right now, and we're just sitting there and watching it, and we can't do anything about it. We just see it happen in front of our eyes, and it has a personal meaning to us, right? Because it's a reflection of us, because that could be us, right? Those are our brothers, those are our sisters, those are people that look like us and they believe like us, and we feel for them. Even the non-Muslims, right? They look at those people and they see, they identify a certain mutual connection, like as a human being. That's a human being, or that's a mother that lost her child, or that's a child that lost their parents, and so they put themselves in that position and they think, wow, what if that happened to me? And so their heart feels even from that level. But for us, it's deeper than that, because those are our brothers and those are our sisters in Islam. So why is that happening? How is that happening in the world? And there's literal supposed governments, and these are supposedly serious people, and they're just watching, and they're lying, and they're gaslighting, and they're making things up, and they're turning a blind eye. It's truly despicable and disgraceful. Why is that? Because their systems are based on flawed concepts, flawed fundamentals, etc. So the right way, the correct way, the rules, the proper rules are revealed by God. Who gets the revelation? The prophets get the revelation. So we have to follow the prophets. They are the ones who transmit the revelation that is revealed to them. And so the final prophet is a man born in the Arabian Peninsula, in the city of Mecca, in the year of the elephant, which is around 571 or 5, it's in the year 500 something. I forget in the common era what it is, like 530 or 5 something. But it's called the year of the elephant because there's an incident that happened with an elephant during that year in that society, and so they used to name the years after big incidents happened. So basically, long story short, so there was an evil king, evil Christian king, no surprise there, that wanted to destroy the Kaaba because he built a giant church and he wanted it to be like the main attraction of that area, and nobody came. After he built it, nobody came, and then people told him, look, as long as the Kaaba exists in this area, nobody's going to come to your church. So he said, you know what, I'm going to try and destroy it. So he took an army of like over 100,000 people, and he had some elephants in that army. So when he went to charge, those elephants went to charge towards the Kaaba, they stood still. They were stuck in their tracks, they were paused, they didn't move. And those elephants were being beaten and they were being yelled at, and they wouldn't move. When the elephants were pointed to other directions, the elephants would run. So the Kaaba was protected by Allah. And Allah sent these birds from the sea, and each of the birds was carrying 3 pebbles, 1 in the beak and 2 in the talons, and each of the pebbles, and they were small pebbles, each of the pebbles had the name of one of those soldiers. So those birds flew overhead, they dropped the pebbles on the soldiers, and they went in from the head, and they came out from the bottom, and they killed those soldiers instantly. So imagine you're living in Mecca. This is the year the Prophet was born. So imagine you're living in Mecca, you witness this great army come, they want to destroy the Kaaba. You flee to the mountains and you're just watching the whole thing unfold. And then you see these birds come and they drop these pebbles on this army and they all die. That's like an amazing incident, right? Like everybody's going to be talking about it afterwards. Like, remember when that happened? So they called that the year of the elephant. That was the year that the Prophet ﷺ was born. The last and final prophet that was sent to this earth. He was born in that year. So his name is Muhammad, and he has that specific lineage. And this is important because we have to confirm and believe in that this specific man, he is the final prophet, and not anybody else. Not anybody else named Muhammad. And so this prophet, peace be upon him, he is the final prophet and messenger, and he is truthful about everything that he conveyed of the revelation. So why is that important? Because, like we said before, when it comes to morality, when it comes to ethics, when it comes to what is good and what is bad, what is permissible and what is forbidden, we can only know that through the revelation. So if the Prophet ﷺ told us such and such a thing is forbidden, then we as Muslims, we have to say it's forbidden. And we have to believe it's forbidden. Now whether we obey that or not, then that's the individual thing, and each one of us will be judged and will be resurrected on Judgment Day, will be questioned about our decisions. But in terms of our belief, what our creed about it is we have to say the same thing that the Prophet ﷺ said. So, and where does that put us? Where does that place us? That places us on firm ground. That places us on firm ground as human beings. What does that mean, on firm ground as human beings? That means we're not going to be bamboozled, we're not going to be swindled, we're not going to be tricked. No talking head at a podium is going to take us down the wrong path, because we already know what's right and what's wrong. Because the Prophet ﷺ told us, and he is the best creation. He is the best human being. He is the greatest creation of all time. He is the most perfect creation. And there is no human being that is better than him, physically or in character. So he is the most beautiful, and he is also the best character. So there's no way that somebody can come and say, well, follow this other person instead. And this is important to us nowadays. Why? As Muslims, especially now, in this time and age of 2024, where there are many attacks on the Muslim identity, and specifically talking to our youth here, because they put in the media and in shows and everything on the internet and in social media things that are against the Islamic values, and they make it popular. And there's this thing like peer pressure, or like this thing of wanting to be included in a crowd, or wanting to be like part of a friend group or a social circle. And sometimes that entails things that are forbidden in Islam. So the young Muslim, he might feel pressure, or he might feel conflicted, or he might feel that he doesn't want to be, for example, the odd one or the strange one, and he doesn't, for example, want to be excluded from that group. So he might do something or even believe something that is against Islam. And that is dangerous. It's more dangerous than killing the body. Right? Because if an enemy of Islam comes, like right now somebody comes, may Allah Ta'ala protect us, and may Allah Ta'ala make us die as martyrs. If somebody comes in right now that hates Muslims and they start shooting up the place, and we die as Muslims, Alhamdulillah. If we die as Muslims and somebody kills us unjustly, that's martyrdom. That means that your sin would be forgiven by dying that way, and you go to paradise without previous torture. That's the physical, that's killing the body. But with the enemy of Islam, when he shoots with the metaphorical arrow or with the metaphorical bullet, and he aims for the creed, and he aims for what you believe, and he strikes, even though your body is still alive, but now because of that change, because of that influence, then the creed has changed and they have gone out of Islam. And then after that, if they die, they go to hell forever. So the enemies of Islam, they shoot for the creed first. And of course, they love to kill the body of the Muslim as well. We see that clearly every single day. But that physical threat is less harmful than that metaphorical threat, where they threaten the creed of the Muslim, where they shoot for the creed of the Muslim. So if we have the information from the Prophet ﷺ, then we stand on firm ground, and our hearts would be protected and it would be shielded against those arrows. But imagine the ignorant person who identified as a Muslim. He sees this and that on social media, he sees this and that in the movies, he hears this and that in the music, and he sees that his peer group, they're all influenced by that, and he might be influenced by that. And he would go astray. And he would say something against Islam, and he would blaspheme. But the one who follows the information from the Prophet ﷺ, he would be standing on firm ground. So what the second shahada is telling us is that we have to confirm and affirm and concur and agree that this man named Muhammad ﷺ, from the tribe of Quraysh, he received the revelation, and he is the final prophet and messenger. So there's no one that comes after him that receives revelation. No new prophet that receives revelation. And also what follows that is that we have to believe that he was born in Mecca and he received the revelation there, and that he migrated to Al-Medina and he was buried there, and his grave is known, and millions of Muslims, they visit his grave on a yearly basis. And we also have to believe that there is an enjoyment of the grave, that there is torture of the grave. Why do we have to believe that? Because the Prophet ﷺ conveyed that. And how does that help us? Because it makes us prepare. It helps us to prepare. One of our sheikhs, he said, he gave something that makes it easier to understand. He said, if you were told that if you, for example, if you do such and such a thing, that when you exit the door, there will be someone there that hits you in the head with a bat, with like a baseball bat. And there's nothing you can do about it. You can't protect yourself from it. You can't dodge it. It's going to happen for sure. Would you do that thing? And everybody in the class was like saying no. So that's the way to make it closer to your understanding. Nobody would do something that they know that the result of it is as soon as you walk out of the door, somebody hits you in the head with a bat. Really hard. Even if, let's say, it doesn't kill you, but you don't want to feel that. So you would avoid doing that thing. So here, when it comes to what's forbidden and what's an obligation, the threat of Allah is real. So the one who does not obey, or the one who neglects to fulfill an obligation, that threat is directed towards him. And if the punishment of Allah, if that punishment was willed for you, there's nothing you can do to stop it. And there's no one that can help you. So for us, knowing about the enjoyment of the grave and the torture of the grave, this is a deterrent for the self. Because no one, for example, you're not like a puppet or a robot that your hand is forced to move. You're the one that's choosing to move your hand. You're the one that's making the decisions that you're making. What's going to stop you from making that decision? Is there someone standing over your shoulder telling you, stop, don't do this, stop, don't do that? Or are you yourself the one that is, let's say, managing yourself? So you would say to yourself, I don't want torture in the grave. I don't want to be inside the grave and be squeezed to the point where my ribs are crossing together. I don't want to be in the grave and have a scorpion that is called a scorpion, but the animals of the grave are different than the animals that live on the surface of the earth. The animals of the grave are specifically created for the torture of the grave. So it's called a scorpion, and even the scorpions that we know on the surface, those are scary. No, let's not pretend here. Whoever sees a scorpion walking next to them, their heartbeat is not going to stay at the resting heart rate. It's going to go up, maybe like 10 or 20 beats per minute. If you have one of these Apple Watches, it's going to start vibrating, saying your heart rate is increased to 120 beats per minute. If you see it, even if you don't show any outward signs of being scared of the scorpion, but you didn't see that scorpion, and you're not going to feel the same. But that's just a scorpion on the surface of the earth. You didn't step on it. What about when you're in the grave and you can't move, and there's scorpions crawling on you? So you would think to yourself, I don't want that, so I will obey Allah. You would think to yourself, I don't want the torture of the grave, so I need to do good. I need to obey my Lord. So this is the importance of knowing that and being certain about that, because it will guide your decisions. The intelligent Muslim is the one that chooses the permanence of the hereafter over the temporary, fleeting life, which is this world. Because guess what? Even if you choose to do the sin, and you get that satisfaction, whatever satisfaction or pleasure that you get from the sin, it's short-lived. It's short-lived. Even in the same instant that you commit the action, that supposed satisfaction will be gone. And then what's left is regret and remorse, and the addiction to instant gratification. Now you're a slave to sinning. Because guess what? Just that one time was enough? Ask any sinner. Ask anyone who's a sinner. If every time that they do that sin, they say, this is the last time. Then some more time passes and then they get the feeling again. They want to feel that feeling again. So they do the sin again. So now it's a vicious cycle spawned. because they want that feeling, and they did the sin. Now the feeling is gone. What's left is regret and remorse. Now they want the feeling back. They do the sin again. The feeling is gone. They get the regret and remorse. Then they want the feeling again. That's the vicious cycle. But the intelligent Muslim would say, even though I want this, or even though I feel that way, I'm going to stop myself. I'm going to restrain myself. Yeah, and even though that takes patience and strength, but it's going to pay off better in the hereafter, because the hereafter is forever. So by making that decision now in the temporary life to restrain and to not do the sin for the sake of Allah in the hereafter, the Muslim gets the everlasting enjoyment. So the Prophet ﷺ told us about the enjoyment of the grave, told us about the torture of the grave, told us about the questioning of the two angels, Munkar and Nakir, told us about the resurrection and the assembly and judgment day and the reckoning, and we're all going to be judged. And every single action that we did, we're going to be judged for it. So us knowing that for sure, it makes you think. Think twice. Oh you Muslim, oh you person, oh you Muslim who believes in Allah and His Messenger. Think twice before you say that word. Think twice before you take that step. Think twice before you send that text. Think twice before you turn that key. Think twice before you open that door. Think twice before you think that thought. Think twice before you look at that thing. Think twice before you listen to that thing. That, if you think that way, using that information given to us from the Prophet ﷺ, that leads to success. We ask Allah Ta'ala to make us die as perfect Muslims and to make our final words, La ilaha illallah Muhammadun Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Inshallah, we'll continue in the next class or the next time we have this talk. Barakallahu feekum, muhallim, la ilaha illallah, Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallim.